huge game. It was the game of the week. Everyone was talking about it. It didn't turn out to be all that exciting, but it was an interesting matchup that everybody wanted to see. And I'm talking about Kansas City beating Dallas 19-9 yesterday afternoon. Like I said, it didn't really turn into the game that we were expecting, but a statement to some degree, certainly by their defense for Kansas City. Their defense, we know Dallas entered that game with the best offense in the league, running it, passing it, scoring, and give the Chiefs credit. Their defense was horrific early in the season, and the last 4 games, Rob, they've held their opponents to less than 12 points a game. Dallas, the 9 points, their lowest of the season. First game they've been held without a touchdown, and that Kansas City defense was treacherous. And if that's who they are, I don't know yet, but if that's who they are going forward, they're going to be tough to beat because I think that offense is going to get back on track. But Dallas, the story there, Rob, was that Dak Prescott just didn't deliver. He threw for 216 yards, 28 of 43, 5 yards a pass. That's all he averaged. 2 interceptions, as you said, and he fumbled twice and lost 1.
Yep.
And so it was a bad game. And I think, Rob, and then I'll turn over you because I think you want to go ballistic. But I think the tone, like when I'm watching that game at the very beginning, and they got Michael Gallup on the first play of the game, open, streaking down the right sideline, and Dak missed him, overthrew it, and then on the next play, he throws to CeeDee Lamb a little short pass in the flats, and CeeDee Lamb catches it, but it was low. Like he had to make a really good catch. He catches it low. It gains 8 yards. That told me, I was like, man, Dak is off. And he was off all game. Even the play CeeDee Lamb got hurt on when he fell on his head, had the concussion.
Right.
Dak underthrew it. So he was off. I'm chalking it up as a bad game. I mean, we've seen every great quarterback in the league have a bad game this year. But he didn't show up yesterday, and that cost the Cowboys.
Yeah, I just think those are those games. And, Chris, I know you'll stick to your guns, and you said
I think he's elite. Yes.
And he's elite. But those are the games that you need. Patrick Mahomes, no touchdowns. It was only 19-9. I mean, wasn't like Kansas City ran you out the building. There was a chance there to win a game. And if you want to give credit to Chiefs, that's fine. Their defense, I'm not going to take anything away from them. But you at least were honest that Dak was off. It was a bad day for Dak. And that's what people are looking for. Whenever they keep talking about the Cowboys and, is this the year? And are they going to – you gotta win some of these games. And I'm not trying to compare them to Aaron Rodgers because they're not the same. Aaron Rodgers has won MVPs. He's won one Super Bowl. He's been to multiple playoffs, all that. I'm not even – but there's a time sometimes when you don't have everybody and things aren't right or whatever, and you can pull it out and win a big game. And we saw the Packers go without their top 3 receivers, go to the desert to a 7-0 team, on a short week. If I remember correct, Chris, that was they played Sunday and that was a Thursday night game, short week, everything. Right. They should have lost that game. I mean, I'm sorry. They should have lost that game. And they didn't. And it's games like that where you look and you go, man, sometimes when you have a quarterback who can just somehow pull it together in those moments, and that's what's missing for me with Dak. I'm not going to sit here and say he can't play and he's a scrub or a bum. That's not what I'm saying. But I still don't feel like you can count on Dak to do that when you don't have everything. That Dak is more like, and his numbers, whenever you look at the also-rans and the bad teams, I mean, he runs it up and he is a monster against those teams. And you're supposed to beat bad teams, and I get that. But can you mix in a game like last night, which was definitely winnable, and it was bigger for Kansas City, Chris. We had talked about that earlier in the week, right, before we went into that last week. But it would have said something for Dallas. Had Dallas been able to win that game, Dak pulls it out against Kansas City, kind of gives them a little blowback, makes people feel much better. I get it, 7-3. Would you take 7-3 after 10 weeks or whatever, 11 weeks? Sure you would.
Did you hear that, Gascon? Sure,
Okay.
you
Sure
would.
You would. But it's just that you would rather see some of those games, and I'm not going to go through the entire schedule, but that would have been a little bit of a feeling better. Yeah, statement and feeling better for Dallas to say, hey, Kansas City thought they were back. They played us. They're not back. They're not on our level. We went into Kansas City and we did our thing. And that just didn't happen. And you said it from the word go. From the word go. And Dak wasn't ready for it. And I've seen these games before. And I saw them going to Philadelphia. That was the one that got me again. He went into Philadelphia. They got a team filled with, held together with tape and glue and strings. And somehow Carson Wentz is able to get a win in Philadelphia to win the division, and Dak gets no touchdowns in that game. And that was just another bad day at the office, but it was a big game, and they could have won a division with a big road win. So, you believe in him. I don't believe in him from that standpoint. I think he's paid like a big-time elite quarterback. He's put up some really big numbers, but he just hasn't won enough of those games, in those moments, Chris, that make me feel good about Dak if he were to face another big-time quarterback in a big-time moment.
Well, here again, you heard me from the get-go. He didn't play well. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I do, and you know this, Rob, since our show began, I was saying that Dak Prescott was en route to becoming elite. Initially, I think, we started our show almost 4 years ago. So initially, I was like, he's a good quarterback. He's a game manager with playmaking skills. Every once in a while, he can make a big play, but he's a game manager. Then he grew a little more, and I said he's en route to becoming elite. He's not there yet, but he's going to be. I do still think, this year, Rob, you know it, from game one, I said he's elite. And I still believe he's elite. He had a bad game. Tom Brady's had 5 turnovers in his last 2 games. We know about Patrick Mahomes' struggles at times this year. Josh Allen has looked a mess. Justin Herbert has looked a mess. Aaron Rodgers has been pretty steady. Obviously, the first game of the year wasn't that good, but he's had a few pedestrian games. Let's put it that way. So every quarterback, Kyler Murray, has had bad games. It happens. And I get it, because you're right. Like, that's what we do want to see from Dak is, can he deliver against the winning teams?
Right.
Because going into this season, Rob, he was 13-20 against teams with winning records. That's a 39% winning percentage.
And he's 2-2
and he ate up
year.
and he ate up the weak teams, 29-7. This year, like you said, he's 2-2. Here's the thing, though, that encourages me in believing in Dak Prescott. Tampa Bay, they lose 31-29, but it wasn't his fault. 42 for 58, 403 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. He played well. The Chargers, they beat them, so that's one of the good teams he beat.
Yeah, but let's not gloss over what happened in that game. I mean, and I'm not. They won the game.
Right.
But the Chargers had 2 touchdowns taken off the board, another, and 2 missed field goals.
It is what it is.
I'm just saying, like, that game, again, if you go look at his numbers in that game, Chris, they weren't that great.
They weren't great. No, he didn't have a great game, but they won. I mean,
I'm just saying.
If we're gonna take away from him when he puts numbers up and loses, then we got to give him credit when he don't put numbers up and they
win. I'm not
win.
taking the win away, but
Carolina, top 3 defense in the league. He goes 14 for 22, 188 yards. Not a huge day because they didn't throw it a lot, but he threw for 4. But he threw for 4 touchdowns. He threw for 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. That's a good game. New England now all of a sudden looking like one of the best teams in the league, certainly in the AFC.
Not at that time, no, they weren't there.
Yeah, well, they were. This is right at the beginning of their surge. They right after this game, which 35-29 overtime loss to Dallas, they played well, New England. We know they played well against Tampa Bay. So they're legit. 36 for 51, 445 yards against Bill Belichick, 3 touchdowns and a pick. So I'm saying, like, he's had good games against really good teams this year. He had a bad one yesterday, but it's not enough to just totally throw out the good games he's had.
Yeah, I just the 13-20, 2-2 this year, 2-9 last year. So in his last 15 games,
2-9 2 years ago.
2 years ago,
because he was hurt last year, and that's the thing. I mean, he's grown.
Right,
we've seen him grow every year.
Right, those combined. So I'm just saying this year and the year 2 years ago when he was 2-9, that makes him 4-11 in the last 15 against teams over 500. And this was my argument, and one of the things I stand by with Matthew Stafford, and he has way better all around talent than maybe Matthew Stafford had, but. You got to win at a better – and I'm not saying he should be 20-13 against 500 teams. You got to be about 500.
He's already done more than Matt Stafford did.
No, I said that. I'm talking – but Stafford couldn't beat those teams as well. That's his bugaboo. And we'll see as we go forward because when you get to the playoffs, the only teams you face are the teams that are normally over 500, the best of the best. So that's why it's a little bit of a measuring stick. And sometimes – I just want to see him pull out those games, Chris, when everything's not right or you're missing somebody or the defense ain't there for you that day. And I'm still I don't believe he's elite. I think he's a very good quarterback. I put him in the second tier of quarterbacks, not in the elite tier.
I think that's fair because I think the first tier is Mahomes, Rodgers, Brady. Lamar.
He's not in that tier, right?
But he's right. I think he's right below and not, and maybe we'll see. I've never thought, actually, Rob, that he'd move up to that top tier. And I'll give you this. As much as I like him, as much as I do think he's elite, I think there has been an what's the word? People have been giving him a little too much love this year.
Yes.
Because going into this game yesterday, Rob, there were people that had him first in the MVP race.
I don't know how.
And I was kind of like, what?
How?
Right? He's got 20 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. I mean, that's not bad, but it's not like there's many quarterbacks doing better.
That ain't right. That ain't MVP, right?
Did you hear Terry Bradshaw, our own Terry Bradshaw, yesterday before the game?
What'd he say?
He said that Dak Prescott, in his opinion, is better than Patrick Mahomes.
Okay. I'm done.
He kind of walked it. He didn't really denounce it after the game, but he was he admitted, he was like, look, I came on here before the game and I gave Dallas and Dak the advantage and everything. And
he kind of walked it back a little.
Yeah, he didn't fully, take it away. But I will give you that, Rob. I don't know if it's just because it's the Cowboys and they're finally winning some games. But I will give you that. I think there's been a little reaction to Dak this year. People give him a little too much love.